What's up, guys? It's Dan from Coin Bureau Trading. Today, we're going to take a look at a few things you need to be watching over the next week, like key catalysts that could move the markets and catalysts that could cause crypto to pump or dump. If this is the kind of content that you enjoy, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ping that notification bell. Before we get started, do keep in mind that nothing in this video is financial advice. It's just my personal analysis of the crypto market. Your analysis could be different, and if it is, that's awesome, because the more difference of opinion that we have, the better traders and the better investors we're all going to become. So the first catalyst, guys, to keep on your radar here is the launch of Tesla's Robotaxi service, which is going to be taking place on June 22nd, so basically in a few days' time here. Why is this important? Well, of course, for those of you who don't know, Tesla's stock is actually pretty highly correlated to Bitcoin. And if you look historically, you'll notice that Tesla stock tends to top like within days of Bitcoin topping. And you can see here that back in November 2021, you guys actually might remember that Elon was saying, it's like, oh, should I sell my Tesla stock? And he did like some vote. And then the day that he actually did that was when Bitcoin topped, which is pretty interesting. And we saw a similar thing here in late December last year, 2024. If you actually look at Bitcoin, you can see that Bitcoin, again, November 2021, it topped basically a few days after, I guess technically 1 week later. And here Bitcoin hit a top, I guess, sometime in December. But of course, it's gone higher since then. But the point being is that Tesla's price action, the price action of Tesla stock specifically, has a pretty good track record of pinpointing roughly where local tops and cycle tops are for Bitcoin. So this is a really interesting chart to watch. And it actually makes sense if you think about it, because Bitcoin is kind of seen as like a higher risk, higher reward tech stock. And of course, Tesla is like one of the largest tech stocks. And as we can see here, right now we're on the weekly for Tesla. It looks like Tesla could see a pretty nice bounce here in the next few weeks. And of course, the trigger for that could be the launch of this Robotaxi service, assuming it goes very well. And if we do see Tesla start to rally as a result of this announcement in a couple of days' time, then don't be surprised if Bitcoin follows suits here. And of course, we're here on the weekly chart as well. And in this case, I do think that the target, in case anyone is wondering about a specific target, I do think that Bitcoin, once it breaks above $110,000, would probably rally up to somewhere, let's say around at least 115, more like 120,000 in the next couple of weeks, alongside Tesla stock rallying. And if you're wondering about what's going to happen with Tesla stock, then I do think that will go much higher. I do think Tesla could basically double from this price, maybe up to around $600, $700. But I'll just caveat that I'm not really like a stock trader. And of course, it does depend on a lot of catalysts that are specific to Tesla. And Tesla is not something that I watch too closely, but in this case, it is something that I think you should be watching over the next week. And of course, before we go on, I do need to show the Coin Bureau deals page here. We were using Binance here just a moment ago, checking Bitcoin's price. The Coin Bureau deals page is a 20% trading fee discount and up to $600 of bonuses. It's the biggest deal that you can get on Binance. It's available exclusively through the Coin Bureau. Taking advantage of that is super simple. Just click that link in the description or in the comments. It'll take you to a page that looks like this. Enter your email or phone number. It takes 2 minutes to sign up. Super simple. If you're not able to use Binance for whatever reason, do keep in mind that we do have deals on other exchanges that are available to US users, such as Arkham Exchange. And we do have other exchanges on there that are accessible to users regardless of your jurisdiction if you're having trouble accessing Binance for whatever reason. And of course, the link to all that is down in the description. Anyways, moving on now, next catalyst to watch here is the Permissionless 4 conference from Blockworks. For those of you who don't know, Blockworks is kind of one of the biggest and most, let's say, respected, I would say, kind of like crypto media companies. They actually, as a fun fact, they actually started off doing events. So their events are kind of like very highly regarded, tends to bring in a lot of like institutional people and high profile speakers and stuff like that. And this conference is coming up here between June 24th to June 26th. If we scroll down, we can actually see the speakers. And if you pay attention, you'll actually notice that, wait a minute, all these guys seem to have something in common. Of course, they're all very heavily involved, primarily in Ethereum's ecosystem, which of course ties into the next catalyst to watch, which is the ETHCC conference, which starts on June 30th. So I guess a little bit later, like later in the month. And there's going to be, I think, lots of big announcements there. Maybe like the XRPL EVM sidechain will be launching. That's something I've been talking about now for a while. But again, this permissionless 4 and ETHCC, basically over the next week, it seems like there's going to be a lot of attention drawn towards Ethereum, which of course means we have to take a look at the Ethereum chart. This is where things get very interesting. So as you can see, we're here on Ethereum on the weekly. I have the trusty Bollinger Bands on here, which, you know, I've said before and I'll say it again. I personally think the Bollinger Bands are like the only indicator that you need, and it's completely free, super easy to access, accessible basically anywhere. But anyways, as you guys can see, there's a key kind of like resistance level around 2,800 on the weekly, which is the weekly Bollinger Band moving average. And of course, even if we were just to zoom in a little bit closer and look, for example, at the weekly or even at the daily, You can see kind of like with your naked eye that there is a lot of resistance around 2800. But again, zooming back out here to the monthly, what I think needs to happen and what I think will happen as a result of either permissionless or ETHCC, that in the next couple of weeks, we should see Ethereum get above this Bollinger Band moving average on the monthly, basically confirming that Ethereum is back in a long-term uptrend. After that, the next logical level would be somewhere around 3,800. And if it can get around, get above or around or above 3,800, then I do think that the next stop for Ethereum would be somewhere around 6 to 7,000. And potentially that could be the top, but we'll have to play things by ear. Again, in the short term, main thing to watch here is 2,800. And I do think that either announcements coming out of permissionless or more likely out of ETHCC will be the catalyst that take Ethereum above this level. And July is probably going to be pretty big in that sense. I could see Ethereum rallying to 3,800 in July. And then by August, going for those all-time highs. Last but not least, there is a macro catalyst you need to watch, which is the Personal Consumption Expenditures Index, or PCE. It's basically the Fed's preferred inflation measure. Everyone watches CPI, the markets watch CPI, and for that reason, the Fed watches the CPI because the CPI is kind of like the most relevant to consumers. But in terms of the Fed's own like internal modeling of inflation and like especially around their interest rate policy, they focus a lot on the PCE as well. The next print here is on Friday, June 27th. As you can see, the PCE has come in lower than expected in the last few months. I mean, it's not specified here, but the PCE has been coming in lower than expected, just like a CPI. And of course, last month's CPI for May did come in lower than expected. So expect to see the same thing for the PCE, that maybe it'll come in lower, maybe it'll come in below 2%. If it does, then of course that will give, I guess, lots of fuel to the idea that the Fed could start cutting rates more, cutting rates in July or cutting rates in September or whenever, right? Because of course the Fed's inflation target is 2%. So if the PCE comes in below 2%, then you can potentially see some more, I guess, anticipation or expectations of easing, which of course would be bullish for the markets. So to wrap things up, let's take a look here at the total crypto market cap. We're looking here on the daily, and the reason I have it pulled up to the daily is just to kind of point out that we saw a really nice rally here in May, and we're kind of seeing the total crypto market cap, let's say, let's say somewhere currently between 3.1 and 3.5 trillion. But if you zoom out, you can actually see that the actual kind of range within which the total crypto market cap could be chopping between somewhere, let's say, around 3 trillion and 3.6 trillion. So it's possible, that we could see the total crypto market cap. Maybe it's already happened by the time you see this video. It's possible that we could see it retest this 3 trillion level before bouncing higher up to that upper range, and then of course breaking up even higher than that afterwards. For the record, I think the total crypto market cap will probably hit somewhere between 7 to 10 trillion in the next few months. But of course, in the short term here, we're on the daily. The main thing to watch again is the possibility that we see the total crypto market cap fall to 3 trillion. This would make sense, as it would kind of be like a retest of this breakout level. And who knows, maybe it'll only fall to like 3.1 trillion or something. I mean, it already kind of fell to that level. So maybe that was the retest already. But I have a feeling that we could see again like a retest down to 2.9 or 2.9 or 3 trillion or something like that. Maybe 2.9 if you factor in liquidation, like long liquidations or whatever. And then so tagging that level and then moving higher up to 3.6 and then rallying even higher after that. But who knows, maybe it'll just go straight up to 3.6. But as far as I can tell, it's perfectly in the middle of this range around 3.3 trillion. So it could really go at either way at the time of shooting. And of course, we'll have to wait and see. If it's up at 3.6 trillion by the time you see this video, great. If it's down at 3 trillion by the time you see this video, don't panic. It'll probably bounce from this level. It's completely normal from a technical perspective. And then it'll rally back up to the upper level of that range and then break out and continue rallying higher. And you might be wondering, okay, why are you so confident in that call? It's because the price action we're seeing now is actually extremely similar to what we saw here going into the fall of 2021. This is something I mentioned in my recent video about where we are in the cycle. I do think that where we are now is kind of analogous to the early fall, let's say, of 2021, where you can see that there was kind of like also like a chop within this range. And of course, there was like a rejection, and then the total crypto market cap, falling to 1.8 trillion here in late September before that final melt up rally into November, that final, like, let's say like 2-month rally. And I think that we're about to see something very similar here, where again, you could see like a drop down. Let's say by the end of the month, you see a drop down to 3 trillion, then you see a recovery and then a breakout. And then, going into, let's say, July, August, and maybe September, you start to see that final melt up rally, same like we saw back in 2021. Anyways, guys, if you did make it this far and you did find that information helpful, then be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, ping that notification bell, and I'll see you in the next one.